Where do you draw the line so that the country is not, or the citizens are not thinking this is just political vendetta, but it's more of doing what is supposed to be done in a proper manner?
Thank you, Sam. I just want to pick it from where Governor Baraza ended, in the context of why are we talking about tax at this point in time. This is a new government that came into office barely 5 months ago. It has its own manifesto. It has got its own policy statements on how to go about the mandate of the government. It has its own economic blueprint. Remember, for a very long time, Sam, we've been talking about the ability of this country to manage its resources and also to manage, especially, its tax base as well as the debt portfolio. And developed countries and economies have largely depended on tax collection from its citizens. And that is the basis why this conversation is now on the top of everybody, especially now, not necessarily the political class, but the leadership. I want to put it in context because it takes a leader, it takes someone to give a lead, to give direction on how things and how some certain policies are to be implemented. This conversation began on the basis of we want to reduce on our debt base. We want to reduce the debt that we have as a country. If we are collecting 2 trillion and we have 1.4 trillion going to repay the debt, remaining with only 600, remittances to the counties is at 300 billion. At the end of the day, we have got nothing remaining for purposes of paying the recurrent or even for purposes of development. That is why we are saying, why can't we be self-reliant? If every Kenyan pay his or her taxes as and when they are due, we would be having a different conversation. The unfortunate thing is, when someone leads on this conversation, which is very healthy, by the way, it is politicized for purposes of political expediency. This conversation began in a very objective way. The tangent that turned it to be political is when people now begin to say, we got a waiver or we didn't get, and therefore you seem to be targeting me. Because I believe the idea would have been, if we have agreed, and that is actually what the president said, we are not in dispute. No one is disputing the fact that we can only make it when we all pay taxes, when we do not evade, when we do not avoid, although avoiding of payment of tax is legal anyway. But the issue is, can we encourage all the Kenyans to pay taxes so that we can finance our economy and, by extension, reduce on our borrowing? We have gone beyond the ceiling of the government's ability to borrow. All that we are collecting at the end of the day.
Have we? I thought the ceiling is at 10 trillion now.
I mean, that is not healthy. It was approved, yes, by the parliament, but that is not healthy. If some, as I've said, the statistics, if you're collecting 2 and you're paying out 1.4, you have not developed, you have not paid your recurrent, you have not remitted to the counties. We are doing badly. And that is why the conversation, if allowed to continue, is let us do it as Kenyans pay taxes. And it is not compulsory, it's not really compulsory, lack of a better term. No one has denied that I am under an obligation to pay taxes.
Okay. Well,